Damaris Melinir was born to Anna Yankee and Raul Melinir. She was a hard-working and enterprising young woman from the municipality of Nueva Imperial, located in Araucanía, Chile. She had a dream of overcoming her family's socio-economic circumstances and dedicating herself to medicine. From the age of 17, she actively participated in community life, and after graduating from school, she got a job as a packer at a supermarket in Nueva Imperial. She took this job in order to save money to continue her education, as she wanted to obtain training in midwifery. The young woman performed her work very well, which led to her being promoted to the position of cashier at the same store. In general, everyone who knew her agrees that she was always a cheerful, friendly, and dedicated person. Damaris had a partner named Austin Abella, and she was very close to his family, especially to his mother, Nancy. In 2021, the young woman began living with Austin's family, as their home was closer to her workplace. In January of that same year, Damaris took a pregnancy test, which came back positive. She shared this news only with the people closest to her, and she was, of course, happy about this turn of events. Damaris worked 2 shifts at the supermarket. She finished the first part of her shift at 3 p.m., after which she had a lunch break until 5 p.m., and then she returned to work and finished at 9:30 p.m. Sometimes her boyfriend Austin would pick her up to take her home, but in many cases Damaris had to hitchhike. This was especially the case at certain times when no one could pick her up. At such times, the young woman would usually stand near the supermarket and try to catch a ride to get to her boyfriend's home. In that area, this is very common, as there is no public transportation, and those who do not have their own car have to find other ways to get around. Damaris did this several times, and most often the people who gave her rides were acquaintances, neighbors, or former classmates. In some cases, because of the time of day, she had to agree to rides from strangers. In March 2021, Damaris's daily routine hardly changed. As usual, she left work at 3 p.m. and wanted to go to lunch with her boyfriend's family, but she stopped on the street to catch a ride home. One of her co-workers said he saw that at that moment a green car driving along the street stopped next to the girl and made a U-turn to approach her and offer her a ride. Then Damaris got into the car and left the supermarket. This was the last time her colleagues saw her alive. The moment of her disappearance was captured by a surveillance camera near the supermarket. The footage shows the green car, just as the co-worker described, making exactly the same movements, and it also shows Damaris standing by the roadside. The only person who did not appear on camera was the man inside the car. At that moment, Damaris's mother-in-law began to worry when the girl did not come to lunch, which she usually never missed. Nancy called the young woman several times, but she did not answer. She also called Damaris's mother, but she did not answer the calls either. The woman thought that perhaps the girl had gone to her parents, who live in a place where cellular reception is poor, and therefore none of them were answering her calls. But time passed, and there was still no news from Damaris. When 9 o'clock in the evening came, Austin began calling her to say that he was going to pick her up, but he also received no response. This worried him and his family greatly, and they began calling different people to find out whether anyone had seen her. But unfortunately, no one knew where the girl was. My mother called her at 3 in the afternoon, but she didn't answer. Then she called her mother to find out where she was, and there was also no response until the evening. It was already 9:30 when I was supposed to go and pick her up. We called, and nothing. I decided to call her mother, but they live in a village where there is no cellular coverage, so I called her about 20 times, but she did not answer either. Since we were in quarantine, we could not go outside, so we waited until the next day, thinking that she might be in the village. The truth was that Damaris had not gone to her parents. This was discovered by her boyfriend's family the next day when they arrived at his village. In addition, the girl's parents went to the supermarket, but it turned out that no one had seen her since the second half of the previous day. That is, Damaris did not return for her second shift. This was very unusual for her since she had always been a very responsible girl. Taking all this into account, and the fact that Damaris still was not answering her calls, her relatives contacted the police and filed a missing person report, after which they began an investigation to determine her whereabouts. Soon investigators found the surveillance footage we mentioned earlier, and thanks to the cooperation of several witnesses, they managed to establish the location of the vehicle that the girl had entered on the day of her disappearance. The owner of the green car was found and questioned. His name is Luis Salas, a 64-year-old worker who arrived in the city in 2020. He lived on a farm in a rural area on the outskirts of the city, approximately 15 kilometers from Damaris's place of residence. According to the man's relatives, he was a reserved and somewhat strange person. The man did not like to smile or communicate much, but he apparently had a calm character. He had a habit of picking up people who needed a ride, offering them transportation in his green car. The reason he did this was that he felt sorry for people walking to the nearby town. One of the people he helped in this way was Damaris. They developed a relationship of trust as a result of several trips they took together. It was in Luis's car, as we already know, that Damaris was traveling on March 1st when she disappeared. His neighbor informed the police that he had been digging a hole on his property, where he had also parked his car. The prosecutor's office issued a warrant to enter and search the house, which allowed them to enter Luis Salas's home on March 4th. When the police arrived at the scene, the man denied that he had given the girl a ride on the day of her disappearance, but experts requested access to the property and discovered a partially covered pit about 300 meters from the house. Luis said that an animal had been buried in the pit, and inside the house officers found other evidence, the details of which have not yet been disclosed. Despite all the doubts regarding this man, the officers decided to arrest him and take him to the station to give a statement. They thought that perhaps if someone put enough pressure on him, he might confess where Damaris was. Although he denied seeing her that day, the officers were convinced that he knew more than he was saying. While he was being questioned, another fairly large group of investigators remained at the property. They wanted to examine every inch of the place, but most of their efforts were focused on the pit, wanting to find out what this man had buried there. The girl's relatives heard about what was happening in the media and immediately went to the scene to ask the police what was going on. The officers told them that they first had to conduct an investigation and then provide preliminary information. However, they were very dissatisfied that they had learned about it only from the media. They wanted to receive the news first, and they were right. The police should have informed them about what was happening before it appeared in the news. However, the team continued working for several hours until, finally, they found something in this improvised grave. In this pit was the body of a girl with her hands and feet tied. Through visual identification, it was confirmed that it was Damaris. Her body was taken for the appropriate forensic examination. The investigators had a clear understanding of the sequence of events that had taken place during those days, and the statements made by Luis Salas that same day only confirmed their hypotheses. Although at first, as we already know, the man denied that he had transported Damaris, later that same day he confessed that he had raped and killed her. Luis also claimed that he had been in a romantic relationship with the girl, which was categorically rejected not only by Austin and his family but also by the girl's family. Austin and his family said that considering her daily routine, she could not have had any relationship with this man. She was either at work or at home. The only time she was not with her boyfriend or her family was when she went out for lunch. And this was a short trip, so they clearly understood that Luis was lying. The girl's funeral took place on the evening of March 6, 2021. At the ceremony, the relatives expressed their desire to achieve justice for the outrageous murder. "I hope he rots in prison. That is what I ask. I ask for justice. Let this man suffer. Please do not allow him. I hope he never gets out of there and rots in prison." The truth is that we think that one or more other people may be involved in this, but we do not know how to find that out. In addition, several mourning events were organized in parks and on the streets. Neighbors hung banners, flowers, photographs, and balloons in memory of the girl. The arrest of Luis Salas was officially formalized the day after the funeral. On March 7th, during a video conference broadcast on television and the internet, a demonstration of people demanding justice took place outside the courthouse. During the first hearings on the indictment, the defense of the accused stated that there had been many violations in the process, from the arrest of the man to his subsequent interrogation. They claimed that his rights had not been read to him and that his constitutional guarantees had not been respected. The defense team also requested house arrest for this man, stating that due to his advanced age, he could not remain in prison with other inmates. As evidence, they presented Luis's extensive history of heart disease. In addition, his lawyers said that because of these two factors, he could not have used violence against Damaris. She was younger and could have defended herself against the man. However, the prosecution stated that they did not agree with this. Luis was larger than Damaris and weighed much more than she did. Therefore, he could have overpowered her at any moment without the use of great force. They also took into account that the man had already given a confession and stated that he posed a danger to Chilean society and that he should be taken into custody. After hearing the arguments of both sides, the judge sided with the prosecution and ordered that the accused be held in custody. He was also charged with aggravated murder and illegal burial. The maximum penalty for aggravated murder is life imprisonment. The court announced a 4-month period for the investigation to analyze Luis Salas's version of events, as well as to collect other materials requiring examination, such as taking DNA samples from the accused and the victim. The reaction of Damaris's relatives to the man's pre-trial detention was positive. They kept him in custody, and that's great. What else can I say? But it would have been good if they had released him, because that would have been a way to get closer to him and make him suffer, because that is what I want, you understand? If we hadn't been here, I don't think they would have done anything. Maybe they would have given him house arrest, which is what the defense was asking for. We won, and whatever happens now, we will try even harder to bring this murderer down. After the formal proceedings on March 8th, the results of the forensic medical examination were made public, According to the report, the cause of death was asphyxia as a result of strangulation, which matches the man's testimony. Therefore, we can say that the statements that were released are very consistent with the line of investigation. On that day, according to the prosecution, the following may have happened. Damaris, as usual, was hitchhiking to go to lunch. Louis saw her and offered her a ride. Then the girl got into his car since she trusted him. After that, he took her to his home and kept her locked up for 3 days, during which, according to them, he raped her. And in the end, he buried her body in a grave that he had, and prepared an oven in which he intended to place the body to burn it. Based on all this information, Louis Salas was found guilty of the murder of Damaris Melinir and was sentenced to life imprisonment. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and share your thoughts about this story in the comments. Thanks for watching, and this isn't goodbye.